Good evening, good morning, everybody. This is the Jungle Room Sessions part fucking 7, I think. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm here with a band, my old friends Dizzy Lizzy, who have just done a gig in Greenwich, near to me, in southeast London. And I'm joined by my old friend H. How you doing, man?
Moderate, thank you. Cheers, Gav.
Cool, cool. So how was your gig tonight in Greenwich? Been the first one in a while since we've had our lockdown?
Absolutely, mate, and it was pretty damn good. It's tremendous, great audience, a great little pub venue, and the audience make the night really.
Yeah.
And we kicked off, and we were on it, and they were giving us loads back, and we were just riding the wave of that enthusiasm. It was a pretty good night.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, loads of beer, food. They give us food. Yeah. And beer, we were happy. Yeah.
But it's good to be back after 7 years, yeah.
And it was great too. It was a buzz. We did a gig in somewhere up north, Grimsby, and it was great to sort of get back into the machinery of doing that stuff again. What we do,
yeah.
You are what you do.
Yeah.
And so getting back to that was refreshing, and we all just kicked back into it again.
Yeah.
And then we waited. We've been under a rock. And then we've been asked to come again, and here we are tonight. We've had a great night. Yeah.
Fantastic. So let's go back in time. I do this with pretty much everybody. So how did you get started out doing what you do, H?
Oh gosh, that's a.
I mean, how far back are we gonna go? Were half of us in this room alive, born by then?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the Babylons at the time, and we'd done a showcase for EMI. And they were falling. We were the Black Beatles. They loved us, and they threw lots of money at us. Recorded Abbey Road and do all kinds of stuff. We were going to be this, we were going to be that. And I was Jazzman's right hand man. But in the period of waiting to do stuff and whatever was going on, sort of twiddling my thumbs, a friend of mine, I'd done a show in Waves and Leather Trousers. And he suggested I do this Lizzy thing. This is before tribute bands were called tribute bands. It was just a concept idea. And so I managed to afford to create this idea and do a Lizzy thing. So the band started, and Jazzman didn't like me doing this. And he said, I want you to stop. But the beats had already kind of started, and I couldn't just stop. And it was a side thing. Anyway, we fell out over that, and I found myself doing this, and then because I don't drink or do anything or whatever. Unfortunately, I'm not pissed. Sorry, guys, but I have a single-minded train of thought of getting business and getting this going right and doing it as good as I can. And so I've thrown all that into all the original bands I'd ever been in, and Babylon Zoo to get that from being. We only rehearsed for 2 weeks.
Oh, Babylon Zoo that did Spaceman.
Spaceman, yeah.
You were in that?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. So we were.
Do you guys remember that?
Yeah. So we.
They weren't born then.
I didn't know you were in that.
Oh yeah.
H was in Spaceman, everybody. You know, Spaceman, always wanted. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Mate, that song was a banger.
Yeah. So we were lined up to do shitloads of stuff, and the record company throwing stuff at us, telling us we were going to go to do a shitload of stuff. And anyway, that's another story. So aside of all that, I found myself doing this. And I remember taking bookings going for the following year. I was going, well, I won't be doing this next year. I'll be doing whatever. But anyway, here we are, 26 years later. And even though I want to get it off the ground and doing well, a lot of the reason why I put the hours that I put into it, which is pretty much 24 hours, that's what you do to do something like this. You have to keep it fanning the flames all over the place. All these plates going and everything else to keep it going. And this is what I'm doing now, so I do it to the best I can and appeal to as many people as I can. And the fact is that I got into Thin Lizzy by a friend. He said, listen to this. And I put the headphones on, and the Live and Dangerous album, and I was blown away. So that was my, after the Beatles, I've always been into the Beatles since before anything. And then suddenly it was Thin Lizzy now.
Yeah.
And the Live and Dangerous swept away, a new thing, wow. And then I got to meet Phil Lynott in 1980 around the Renegade thing, and he was amazing. He was like, whatever people tell you about Phil Lynott on a positive level, he's so true. It's bigger. He was bigger and better than that. He was amazing. He was amazing to look at and amazing to be around, and he was such a gentleman. And then there's a little story, but I'm not going to go into that. And
that's what this is for.
The little story is that some kid turned up with a Gary Moore single, and at that given time they were enemies. They'd fallen out, and we were like, Phil, and he was such a gentleman, as I said earlier, and he was so impeccably dressed. His hair, his face was. He just looked amazing. He looked like Elvis with a wig on, an afro wig. He looked amazing. And somebody turned up with his Gary Moore single, and then I asked him to sign it. And back on the streets, and he goes, "I'm not signing that." And he slung it because he was quite skinny. It was all like gangly, like a daddy long legs, kind of like all that. And then he spun it, and it went like down the alley. This is at the back of the Odeon in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And down the ramp, and it was just so funny. But he was really aggressive. He really like showed his disdain for this record and this situation. Of course, we all know they did Out in the Fields, and they become really good friends again. But because they loved each other as much as they did at that point, they were not happy with each other. At that given point, he throws a single, and he shows his level of aggression of how he can turn, and we were like, bloody hell. And then he went back to being this utter serene gentleman, and he was just amazing. And he was an artist. He's full of all this emotion, and that came out. And there's this guy, this rock star, giving it words. Yeah. So Phil did it, and that little incident. Renegade. I found my little Renegade badge recently. Anyway, I love Dizzy Lizzy, and I love good music, and for me it's about the music and getting it right. So that's what keeps me going. So all these years, I'm never bored of it, because every gig I'm pursuing how to get it better. Yeah. And I'm not complacent. So that's what keeps me going, and why I'm still fired up for doing it. And anything to do with music, getting it right. So the Babylon Zoo thing was like that, and that's why the labels are falling over us. So I've been there, and I know how it was supposed to go. Yeah. And they were falling over us, and it was signed like in such a vast, quick time, and we got it together, and we rehearsed every day for 2 weeks, all day, every day. Yeah. And that was the result. And then here I am now. And then the lineups change over. We've had great players in the band, some really good players, and but I have to say the lineup we have got now is the best. It's I'm really comfortable with each member, and the lineup is great. So all credit to them and what we're doing and how it's going. And but really, I'm not satisfied with what we're doing. I want to take it a lot further and give the fan what Thin Lizzy were about. When I saw them, he gave the best he could for the fans, and I'm into the same thing. I don't want to just give them a bit of something. I want to give them the best they can possibly get. That's what I.
Do you know what this is? I think I've done 7 or 8 called the Jungle Room sessions. The first one I did was with Bend Over, and you know what? With the exception of Bend Over and Crystal Taylor, when I asked the first question of how you get started, you have to be the most interesting bunch of sentences I've ever had in reply. I don't know what to ask next after all that. Have you had much coffee tonight?
Coffee? Yeah. I've had a can of Coke.
Oh, yeah. You sure it was a can? So, life on the road for us all now, as you know, with my band, your band, we're very sparingly doing shows and stuff like that. But, we all had our heydays, and hopefully that will come back for us all. What's best memories? Let's see. Give us a couple of your most favourite shows you've done. Anywhere in the world. You've done some of the same countries we've done as well.
Yeah. So we really enjoyed. I know we really enjoyed going to. It depends what you're on about, the best performances or the best concept of the gig. And the best concept, if you like, was
the most glamorous kind of.
Yeah. Was really got us going. Was what's it called?
The Wolfsburg.
Dubai.
Ah,
Dubai was just like. I mean, it's all so plush and everything.
Yeah.
So we were swept up our feet with Dubai. The hotel, 5-star, and the whole thing, and as much food as you want, and do what you wanted, and the heat and the whole whatever. The band before this lineup, we went to America. And we did do Pasadena, California, and on the Strip and all that sort of stuff. That was great. Same way where the door singer, what's his name?
Jim Morrison.
And he's got a picture of him at the back.
Yes.
And we were there.
Awesome.
We did all that. That was fantastic. As I said, Dubai, that was brilliant. And then all stuff, what else is there? That's what we've done that we've kind of...
Holland, yeah.
Holland's
That
fantastic.
Wolfsburg thing with the Led Zeppelin band and Randy Hansen.
They've stuck you on a few shows with us in the past. You did Glastonbury as well.
Glastonbury's fabulous, yeah. I mean, all those... it's great doing... It's great doing those big shows and addressing the big audience, and there's a thrill about that. But we've just had a big thrill playing to a small venue.
Yes.
With the intense feedback, and I'm still just as buzzing as that. So it's only the kudos of those shows that.
It's sometimes where you can see the smiles on the people's faces in a smaller environment, and it's more appreciative, and it makes it feel more worth it.
It's
sometimes.
intimate, but
I get that sometimes.
Yeah. So but when you look at kudos, then Dubai, Los Angeles, and a host of other places. We love going to Ireland. We've always booked at the end of the year. We go to Ireland, do a three tour thing, and we're building up a fairly strong kind of basis of fans there.
I saw a video with you and Philomena, Phil's mum. Right?
Yeah, that was Holland. That was a great time with her.
Yeah.
She was so funny. She's such a funny character when she was, and she's a brilliant friend. And I'd have to sort of stop and think about all the funny stories with Philomena we've had with her. But I looked recently. I've got a picture of myself and Philomena, and when I last saw her, and I was doing a selfie, she goes, "What are you doing, H?" I said, "I'm taking a selfie." She says, "What's a selfie?" And I said, "It's this, and I'll show you." And she says, "I've never had one of those before." So I think I've got a bunch of the only ever selfies with Philomena. I haven't used them or done anything with them, but I've got them on my phone. But I might do something with them at some point. So anyway, she's so endearing. She's so full of inspiring. I met her 20 odd years ago somewhere in London, and she's such a funny character. And she's always been behind the band and supported us all through whatever. And then it gets political about Lizzie and things and all that. So she tried to keep her head low and not upset other bands.
Yeah.
But what she did really appreciate, she thought we were great, and she thought what she liked about us is that other bands go halfway to do the Lizzie thing, and we go all the way to do the Lizzie thing, and she appreciated that. We didn't do it half-cocked. And they were just whatever her terms were. I'm not going to bring them up, but that's between her and herself and myself. But she appreciated us. But also, she appreciated all the Lizzie bands because they all were we're all for the same thing. So she loved all the Lizzie bands.
Yeah.
And for me, however many Lizzie bands there are shows the strength in the marketplace for Lizzie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that they keep coming in and do what they do and show their bit, that's great. And
I've always found for like my generation as well, because obviously we're the one after you kind of thing. For us in my generation, we weren't kind of brought up on the Lizzie stuff, but through watching yourselves and also Limehouse through both your bands, we got to learn so much. And all the times we've worked with you and everybody else, there's like songs that I didn't really know growing up that now I have a vast array of their material. So it's bringing in, every show you do I find brings in a new audience, because people are like, I've heard that song but I didn't know it was there, and then they go buy the CD, or let's say download it these days.
I mean the sad thing would be if there weren't tribute bands, those skills, and they are skillful. They're not like today thrown together and marketed. Today it's accountants and lawyers and marketing. It's not artist repertoire, art A&R to develop an artist.
Yes.
And that's what it was about, and that's why it had substance when you bought it. Whereas now it's like throwaway food, cheap, throwaway what you see on every corner, this cheap food.
Yeah.
So it hasn't got the substance it used to have, and that's why tributes have come about, because people, you give them back something what was been put together skillfully, and you're replicating that. Plus, you're letting people see that stuff isn't going to die because of tribute bands.
Exactly. You do get these, anti-tribute band. Famously, though, you always find that the people dissing tribute bands are in an original band themselves and they can't get any gigs, so they blame us. I tell you what we get with tribute bands get escalating, because those people don't understand how the music business works. Yeah. That's where it starts from, basically. And the music business, I've got to get my train of thought, but this tribute bands are paid for their performance, and that's all they're doing. They're playing that you're performing these songs, however you put them together. But that's what you do, and you're paid for that. And then the writing, we pay PRS, and the artist gets that PRS. Yes.
So they get money from our performance.
Yes.
We're not taking money from them.
No.
We're only being paid for our performance. We're actually giving them more money and more recognition, because many people have then bought those out. They've gone and said, I went and bought the album because of what we've done. And in the old days, when we used to those same very bands, they'd create an album and then they'd tour to promote and sell the album, and we're pretty much doing the same thing. I remember seeing EMI bragging about doing £1 million warehouse to store back catalogue in the CD days. To store back catalogues to sell. And why are they selling back catalogues? Because the tributes are out there doing what they're doing, and people are buying them. So the tributes have kept venues open for these original bands to play in. Exactly. And then many tribute bands have come to see these tribute bands. Many original bands have come to see these tribute bands, and then they suddenly get, oh, that's how it is. And that helps them with their writing and their creating a band. And
with us in particular, as I've said in past interviews, we will, if we get along with the band, the original band, we'll take them away with us. It's a great platform for original bands to expose themselves and have an audience. And it's created that. Whereas before tribute bands, it was shoegazing bands, and they were lame. They were so lame, and clubs were closing. And now you got cover bands, original bands, the tribute. The demand's there because of the punters, not because of the bands. The band didn't create the demand. The punters wanted it. We just filled the demand. Exactly. So then it's created a platform for original bands to sort of play with an original as a tribute band or cover bands. And suddenly this whole thing, it's gone from being in pubs now to festivals. Yeah, exactly. And that's how big. And that's when you get an idea, you take it as far as you can, and that's what's happened. And it's been great up until this situation, what we're in now. But you can take things, and when you understand how the game works, you can really, really play it, and that's why it's doing what it is. And there's a lot of scope, and times change. It's a bit like when the glam thing started in the 70s. Nobody planned. I didn't plan to be in a tribute band. The glam T-Rex, Slade, all those sweet things. They didn't plan to be in the glam thing. It just evolved, and they went along with the wave of it. Exactly.
So here we are in this concept, and what's happened is because artists were using samples to do songs because of their lame writing. I don't really mean that. I'm just saying as a kind of show you the gravity of the whole thing. Is that then these singles would then become number one. They'd be interested in the original single, and then people got interested in that catalogue stuff because they were using sampling for that to help prop up their songs, and then took an interest in the older songs and the older stuff, and then BBC Two, because they all got kicked off of Radio 1, so they went to BBC Two. Then they were playing the old stuff still, and then they won an award for having the most listeners. So the strength in the writing and the way this stuff has been put together has lasted the test of time. Whereas the stuff that they put out now is tacky, whatever it is, and it's it's all that kind of what do you call it, X Factor stuff and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So they what they do, instead of doing it in a long way, it's a short sort of quick. You see the whole thing and then the marketing, the production, and blah blah blah. Then you get into the artist, and then then you buy the thing, and then it's thrown away. It's like throwaway TV, throwaway radios, everything. That's where we're in now. It's a consumer throwaway, whatever. In the end of the day, it was built with passion and blah, blah, and the music was the same.
Yeah. Well, it's a good job for tribute bands exist to show a new generation.
Yeah, there is, because that is going to help them go, oh, that's what it's the same as Britpop. Britpop see, the whole thing, I'm not going to go right, but the whole, where we are now, started from punk. Not screwed, it changed everything. And I'm not going to go into that, but what I will say is that when we ended up with indie was like indie was like the cool thing to be on. And then you got Blur, what they called not Green Day, Supergrass, all those Britpop bands, and when they were in the indie thing, they survived the indie thing and became the Britpop because they learnt the skills of being an artist. Then they became from indie to mainstream, and they learnt the skills, and all the other indie stuff fell to the wayside because it was just taxed. But they learnt the skills and they managed to get through with the other. It's all down to the producer. They would have learnt from the producer, because musos have this mentality, oh, it's this and oh, it's that, but they don't really know. When you work with these people, you actually get to see what it is, and it's really simple, but they miss what it is. But the ones that learn it then get it, and then become and do what they do.
Yeah. And
they were the acts that covered that. Yeah, they learnt the skills, and then the Britpop, and then it went to whatever phase it went to, and then whatever it is now. Yeah.
So, slight subject change, but on the same thing. I was talking to Niall the other day, and when did you and I first, Guns N' Roses and Dizzy Lizzy first play together? Do you remember?
Coming out really out the dark, like you didn't go like.
I know. I'm just thinking of what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Or do you make it easier? Do you have any favourite memories of Angry Niall?
No. Well, it's just each time's different, and it's like refreshing because he's never quite the same, but he's got this kind of persona, and then you kind of like you beat him up and everything else, and then we see how you address him and that, and now he's a lovely guy. All the guys in your band, Harrison, your drummer, Steve, yeah. All the guys that you've ever used, what's the one, the magician one? What's his name again?
Gianluca.
Luca, yeah.
Yeah.
All of them have been fabulous, and then all of them have been great, and you've been great. And I can't remember how we first ever crossed paths. I can't quite remember. I'm normally like into doing stuff like that, thinking how things came about. But you caught me on the hop there. I can't quite remember.
I can't. It must have been something in the Midlands, probably the rock.
We've crossed paths so many times in and out that as I drive back to Birmingham tonight, it'll come to me, and I'll send you a text.
I'll do a selfie video at the end, going, by the way, H remember.
And I will, because I like those moments. I like that those. They're all important, so I like to see. I'm into how things work, and everything's relative, and so that's why I know I'll remember later.
Yeah. So have you got any plans now into 2021? Obviously, we're all unsure of where we're going after this. But
yeah, the thing about this game is that you don't really ever say what you're going to be up to just yet, unless you're promoting something and you've got it already set up. So, who knows? I don't know yet, but I've got some ideas. But they're just ideas. Yeah. So we've got nothing to sell or nothing to say right now, apart from you know, we're just hiding under a rock until we're allowed to kind of scrape back out into the sunlight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know.
We're all in the same boat.
Yeah. So there's nothing to say apart from, you know, scheming out to sort of get things on the thing and get the Lizzy fans to kind of see what we're about.
Well, we've been
or any lovers of music.
Yeah, of course. We've been lucky here in London because slowly we've got smaller venues now accommodating, which I'll bring you guys in after this interview and I'll arrange some shows. So we're kind of lucky. It's slowly building up here in London because I think if they're going to lock down London again, they're going to keep us until last after they've done everybody else.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the funny thing is, sorry, Gav, again, to like, you know, what they overlook, like when we do festivals, thousands of people come to these festivals.
Yeah.
So all the local shops, all the local pubs, the bed sits, the hotels, the taxis, they all benefit from that local area that we bring to the area. Yeah. So you don't like these small businesses and they're right, but the musicians, you know, you're just fodder. We actually bring business for those businesses.
It's true.
And then you got the catering and then the crew and all that because the act brings these punches in. And then these festivals are all over the country and these local areas are benefiting from what we do. Yeah, we're the last concern. And, you know, it's like, you say, okay, we'll give that business that and give that business that. But the undercurrent is the fact that what we do. And then people, they let off that steam and they get something back. But you've got people, you're hoarding them left and right. And then they've got nothing to release. And they're getting a bit pissed off with what's going on. And how their small minds are not really they've got no understanding of the whole arena. They're just looking at the small picture and doing whatever they're doing. I'm not even going to...
This is going to take us down one of our NWO routes.
Brilliant, So but the music business, which brings in 5.2 billion a year, last year, or when it was, you know, it's a serious... It's serious. It's not like, and then the way we're treated. Anyway, so that's another thing, as you say.
Yeah.
But we bring in that for all these small businesses. We help, you know.
No, I know.
Yeah.
No, I've been telling this for ages. I mean, me personally, apart from small shows we're doing around London and a couple of others, I've had my moments where I've been on social media and I've had my statements and I've said this and that. But you know what? The way people are now, it's just easy to say nothing and just write out whatever the fuck is going on.
I don't know if you've noticed, but this COVID scenario, I've hardly been on Facebook because it's a breeding ground for just... I can't relate to that kind of...
It's draining and you know, nothing you can say is the right thing, so it's easy just to say nothing, like, you know, so...
You get drawn into this stupid, like, you know, and the mentality that gets on there, and a lot of them so up their own, you know, narcissistic kind of attitudes, and they're just narrow-minded or
it's kind of like if they've seen it on the BBC, it must be real.
Yeah. and then it's like you get drawn into stupid, pointless kind of argument things or whatever, or they just kind of, it's just So Facebook has got some great facilities, and then. It's like a big playground when you're at school.
It is.
Yeah, and that's how I look at it.
Yeah, definitely. But it's a good social media tool at least, so you can get stuff off there. Really, what we might try and do if Dan's still about, because you mentioned the Beatles. Well, Dan, who lives in my attic, he's from Liverpool. And he has got the biggest John Lennon repertoire upstairs, guitars, everything. So might bring him down, and if you want to do a jam with him.
Okay. You know, my thing about the Beatles, I mean, I've hardly got any records. I used to have a few. Every day from school, I always played the one tribute album, and I'm really studied that. And as much as I appreciate the Beatles, and you could say I'm a fan or whatever, but what I'd like to study about them is study them. I don't really buy all this stuff.
I've got something for you.
Yeah.
I've just remembered. I've got and this hasn't been released yet, but I've got the 35mm of Let It Be, the last rehearsal session. and the whole Rooftop Jam. Now, this got released on a Laserdisc in 4.3. This, what I've got, is what was in the cinema, so it fits on widescreen. So I'll do you.
Cool,
I'll run you off that before you go.
Cool in the gang.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll see what Dan's up to anyway.
Yeah.
But dude, you know what? I think we've covered everything with me asking minimal questions. You told me everything I was going to tell them.
The funny thing is as well that people miss. Oh, it doesn't matter. I just say that Bill and it was into the Beatles.
Yeah.
I mostly, when I went to Philomena's funeral, I bumped into a chap, and his name slipped me down, something Quigley or something, and his brother taught Phil Lynott how to play bass, and he said his brother Paul, I think his name's Paul, taught him McCartney bass lines.
Really?
Yes, and that's how we learned. And the guy, what's his name, who people think he taught Phil to play. What's his name? I really should know. What's his name?
Bruce Shields.
Bruce Shields, yeah. I asked Bruce Shields, I said, did you actually teach Phil? He said, no, H. I didn't teach Phil. All I taught him was a riff, not a riff, it's a scale for the intro to Chinatown.
Yeah.
He said, that's all I taught him. And then this chap told me that his brother taught him McCartney bass lines and they rehearsed at their house.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I spoke to Brian Downey and he told me all this bunch of stuff, amazing stuff that was really, really enlightening. And then I met somebody else in that video where they're running around. They're really young. It's the first ever video. They're all running around. And the chap that filmed that, he said that they were trying to recreate Hard Day's Night when they were running the
yeah.
And then when you look at Phil, and he was into the Hendrix thing, but what he doesn't say about the Beatles is what I'm telling you now. And because he's got a Ricky, which is what McCartney had, and McCartney was a bass player singer.
Yes.
And then Hendrix was a black guy with an afro, so that gave him the go ahead, I can do this.
Yeah, yeah.
And there you go. So where the statue is as well, where the statue is in Dublin, that's where he was sacked by Bruce Shields.
Right.
And the next step he took from there is while we're here now about Dizzy Lizzy.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is
That's
so anyway,
nice story.
so I share that kind of thing with Lynott. The fact that, you know, and Elvis as well, of course, and the usual things, and Hendrix again, and that's a connection, and you can hear the bass lines in his early stuff. He gets some more of his own thing later, but the early stuff you can hear the McCartney influence.
Wow.
And there you go. So and then I've got an interview with him talking about doing Beatles songs as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Beatles have got a lot to answer for.
Yeah. I'm learning loads of shit today, really, about especially. But I'm gonna go and I'm gonna watch a few documentaries and do some. Yeah, I know what I'm watching after. No, thank you for all. I mean, it's been informative for me, So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So how do people come and see you? What's your website address?
I don't know.
Anyone
Dizzy Lizzy Band.
Dizzy Lizzy Band.
Is that right, lads?
.com,
yeah. We used to have all the .coms and that.
Do you guys know what? I mean, I should know this because I'm on the page as well. But what's your Facebook page? Because that's where everybody connects.
Yeah.
Dizzy Lizzy Band again, I think.
Yeah. Is it Dizzy Lizzy Band on Facebook?
Yeah.
It's just
2 or 3, isn't it?
Everything's Dizzy Lizzy
Band.
Band.
Right, and guys, we're gonna. This has been one of the most informative. Believe it or not, I've known you for about 15 years. You've never told me any of this stuff till tonight. So I'm like, wow.
Just to say that the lads as well. Remember, I should have mentioned them tonight at the gig. We've got JJ on guitar, we've got Jordan on drums, and Tim Grable on guitar.
Say hello,
and
guys.
Myself.
Hello.
So that's the band, and that's Dizzy Lizzy, paying tribute to Phil Lynott and Thin Lizzy. Yeah.
Go check them out, guys, and thank you all for turning up tonight, albeit at 1 a.m. It's definitely a unique time. So look, I'll see if Dan wants to do a jam or something, and we'll see where we go, guys.